Call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. on September 30th. We'll start with the roll call. If you are here, please say here or present. Adagarla. Edvate. Anderson. Bender. Bouma. Brown. Emery. Fahim. Grant. Green. Goff. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Hayes. Hovey. Hurley. Klaptatauskas. Ludwig.
Here.
Mass. Pfeiffer. Rinchi. Simano. Schulte. Simonson. Springer. Stenzel. Stevens. Samuel. Weathers. Zastro. Zavoski. Anderson. Bender. Bouma. Fahim. We have quorum. We now move on to Pledge of Allegiance, led by Speaker Ludwig. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now move on to our program of for the evening, and we have a representative from Enrollment Services to discuss the 100 Ideas in 100 Days initiative. So if you could approach the lectern and introduce yourself in the program.
Thank you. Oh, is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. Thanks. It's so nice to see all of you. I am here to ask for some input from you. As was said, I work for Enrollment Services out of the Provost's office for a special project, and the project is called 100 Ideas in 100 Days. And the whole goal of it is to look for the future of Iowa State and generate 100 different ideas about how we can grow enrollment at Iowa State University and how we can grow student success. Iowa State already has great retention and graduation rate, but we can always improve. So we've met with a wide variety of people on campus, faculty and staff and student affairs people and administrators and the deans, to talk about how we can look at new programs, new services, new recruitment initiatives, new retention initiatives, and even new initiatives for transfer students to see how we can grow. As everybody knows, enrollment's been an issue in all of higher ed for the last few years, and we're all looking at better ways to serve our students. It's really important that as a part of this project, we hear from students. So what I'm doing is spending some time with different groups of students and asking your input about what ideas do you have to get more students to Iowa State? Where can we go to look for new students? Should we recruit out of state? Should we recruit differently in state? Should we do more international recruiting? Should we recruit more at community colleges for transfer students? What kinds of programs could we add to recruit more students to come here? What kinds of services can we add? So what I'd like to do is just sort of open up the floor. It's always hard to get that first person to say, this is a great idea. But as the provost said, in this initiative, as we look at by the end of the term, coming up with really great ideas for the provost to implement, there's no idea too big, there's no idea too small. Every idea is worth considering as we're looking at the future of Iowa State. So that's why I'm here. You are a group of leaders at the institution. You have a very broad perspective of the university. So I'm really interested to hear what you think we can do to grow enrollment at Iowa State. So does anyone want to go first?
So if any senator wishes to speak, please raise your placard. If anybody in cabinet wants to talk as well, just wave me down. Senator Hurley, we'll start you off with you. Turns green, you're good. Press towards the top of the button.
Okay. Well, one big thing that I think we have to focus on is we have to be a campus of free speech. You know, I know more and more kids nowadays, they're looking at, it's called the fire ratings. I believe Iowa State has a yellow light, which is not that good. I think a lot of students, if they said, we're a campus that is open to ideas and celebrates diversity of thought, I think that would get a lot of students very interested in coming to Iowa State. So I'd lean more in on that.
Great, thank you.
Ed Vate.
Yeah, just real quick, I think international students are a great untapped market, so to speak. As someone who's lived in a foreign country for a long time, I know there's a lot of people who there isn't a lot they wouldn't do to get a college education at a institute of repute like Iowa State in the United States. And they're also willing to generally pay much more than the average American to get that sort of education. So I think this is a great way to increasing international outreach. I know some colleges had like workshops in foreign countries. Maybe, I don't know if Iowa State does that, but if we don't, that's something we could look at. And just getting that outreach out there and getting those higher paying students in could also help with decreasing enrollment and our funding stuff.
Great, thank you. And that's an idea that we're clearly something we're really looking at in terms of how we can grow that student population. Other ideas?
Stenzel.
Hi there. I went to a small high school in rural southwest Iowa, and we had the opportunity to take some college classes through Iowa Western Community College. And I know that that was a really good way for me to kind of get a head start and, like, just from a practicality standpoint, you know, lower the cost of attending college later on. So I don't know exactly how much Iowa State's doing with area college or high schools already, but if there's any way to kind of expand that reach where maybe as much virtual instruction as there is now, being able to reach out to even further communities and, you know, offer high schoolers a chance to get started early. And, you know, once you kind of start down a path, people are, tend to stay on that path. So that might lead to some more recruitment down the line.
Thank you. You know, one of the things we're looking at is there's a lot of students in concurrent enrollment programs like you did with Iowa Western. And can we find those students earlier and help them plan for Iowa State? It's okay if they take classes at the community college, but let's get them planning for Iowa State right away so all those credits transfer. Thanks.
Mass.
So to kind of echo some of what Senzel said, but a little different take on it too. I think really leaning into one of the things that makes Iowa State really special is our land grant mission, especially. And I think we really have an untapped resource within the 4-H program, where we already have a high school youth program that reaches out to all 99 counties within the state. So if we're looking at ways to really engage those in-state youth and get them really involved, I think that's one way that they can immediately gain positive experiences with Iowa State. I know when I was looking at colleges, I'd already come to Iowa State for State 4-H conference, I'd already done things like that. So it had already given me an experience to know this is what Iowa State is. And when it came time to make that decision, Iowa State already felt like home at that point. So I think really making the decision from an administration level that we're going to invest a lot more within our 4-H programs and reaching out to would be a really valuable thing to help promote enrollment in state.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Han-Young.
Thank you for coming in and asking us to be a part of this process. I think it's a great one. Just one question to start off for clarification. Is the Office of Admissions now housed within the Provost's office as well? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Admissions is part of enrollment management, which is part of academic affairs. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I think the three areas, some of them have already been said by my fellow senators, but first of all, international students, international recruiting, especially in a year when a lot of international students, due to the pandemic currently, the messages we're getting from our federal government about international students necessarily being welcomed in the United States. I think Iowa State wants to continue to welcome those perspectives in here. And I think, like Senator Edvet said, that's an untapped market for student recruitment. Second of all, I think, like Senator Stenzel was saying, students who have finished at least 2 years or an associate's degree at college. My sister falls into that category. She's just finished up her associate's degree at DMAC, and I think that she kind of counts herself out of the education that I'm receiving here because she thinks she's done. But I think that Iowa State could do a better job about recruiting students who think they're kind of done with their education, but maybe haven't looked into what that 4-year degree looks like or what that future in education looks like for them. And then finally, I think it would be a good time to look at a one-day orientation program, specifically for families who are not able to make it for the 2-day orientation. I know that myself, I was a cyclone aide in the 2019 summer. I know that President Fritz was as well, Senator Grant over there was as well. And I think a lot of those cyclone aides from that class would echo that a one-day orientation program makes it more inclusive for students and their families, especially working families, to really get a grasp of Iowa State. And as we're going through this pandemic and having to do virtual visits and changes to the structure of recruitment, I think this is a great time to introduce those new programs and give them as an option to families who probably can't make that traditional orientation schedule. That's all.
Thank you. You know, I'm still not used to people not being able to see me smile behind my mask, right? You know, I'm like, all of this is a smile of recognition because we've talked a lot about this one-day orientation program, stronger weekend orientation programs because some people can only come on weekends, and definitely beefing up the virtual orientation program. So all three of those are absolutely right on target. Thanks.
President Fritz?
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So one thing that I, jokingly say that I like the reason that I'm at Iowa State is all those commercials when I was younger of the choose your adventure at Iowa State, there's a guy whispering to the camera. So I think, after seeing commercials like that, my whole life of seeing wow, Iowa State has such amazing opportunities. So I really think that, continuing to capitalize on all the cool things that Iowa State students can do here, particularly in the research sense. I feel like I find out new things every day that students are doing and get to be a part of, literally changing the world. And I think that's so cool. So really showcasing those opportunities that students do get here. Additionally, like a few other people in this room, I came from a rural high school. And so I feel like, of my graduating class of 55 people, I think that only, I want to say 6 of us went to, a state school here. And so I think really trying to, show students that even if you are going back home to, farm, there still is extreme value in getting an education, whether that's, related to agriculture or that's related to running a small business, still showing that there is value, whether you're going back home to farm or not. And I would also like to echo Senator Han-Yang in saying a one-day orientation option would be much appreciated by a lot of families. I think after having worked at orientation over the summer, you see that half of the people really, really enjoy orientation and half the people really want a shorter option. So, they don't have to take off 2 days of work. They don't have the financial strain of spending the night. And so it would allow, I think, more parents and guardians to come with their students to come see that. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you. Great comments.
Senator Goff?
Hi there. Thank you for including us in this discussion. I just wanted to bring maybe an option about that. I went to Purdue University, and I also was from a small rural area in Indiana that had a community college in the next town over, and they had a group program together. So you would do 2 years at the community college and 2 years at Purdue University to attain what they had, what that time was an agricultural degree. So you would be able to cut some of those costs at the community college while still attaining a Purdue University degree or a state school degree. And I think that was an excellent option for people that didn't want to, necessarily jump straight into moving 3 hours away or however long the distance is. And that was an excellent option for them to be able to kind of mitigate that in between the two.
Great. Thank you so much. One of the things we're talking about, particularly with DMAC because it's so close, is can students take maybe the lab at the community college and then lecture here because so much is online now. So it gives you a little taste of the Iowa State classes, maybe if you're not quite ready to jump in yet. So a lot of those different models, I think, are really important to look at as we look at trying to recruit more students here.
Senator Zastro.
One thing that I think Iowa State is that on? One thing that I think Iowa State doesn't have right now is a more technical college. So stuff like plumbing, automotive certification. If we do have the space, dorms and classrooms that aren't being used because enrollment is going down, those things could be retrofitted to be stuff like car lifts and studios where you can get plumbing or welding experience. And those kinds of jobs aren't really going away. So that's something that I think Iowa State could get involved with.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you very much.
Samano.
Yeah, so to kind of echo first Senator Goff, so my alma mater actually had a partnership program with Fullerton College. I went to Cal State Fullerton, and so essentially similar concept, and they also provided a $1,000 scholarship every semester on top of that, on top of like the financial aid you would receive usually. So I really would also recommend a form of partnership with community colleges. My second thing is creating a cultural center system, essentially. So instead of having just a multicultural center, creating a system for like Latinx students, Asian Americans, and so creating a system so it creates a more welcoming environment here at Iowa State. I think when you group all multicultural students in one space, it kind of defeats the purpose of a welcoming space because you're seeing them in a broad sense rather than them in their individual identities. And as well as my last thing is creating buildings to be more accessible. A lot of the buildings here are not that very accessible, and so creating an initiative to start making buildings more accessible here on campus, because we start making a welcoming space for disabled students.
Thank you. Yeah, that's so important. Thanks a lot. Others?
Senator Brown.
Thank you for coming. So for the international students, it might be a longer approach, but are you familiar with this term called sister cities?
Yeah, I can't understand that very well.
Are you familiar with the term sister city?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe Ames can make a sister city with other international countries,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe with the international communities, maybe Iowa State can advertise within those communities to grab some attention of the international students.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if Iowa State has
I don't think
sister city communities. I
I don't think Iowa
honestly
State
don't know.
has any of, or Ames have any of them, but in Des Moines has 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then my mom's Japanese, and she always introduced me to the new Japanese or studying abroad every year.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you.
Yep.
Good point.
And Senator Brown, I know Ames does have 2 sister cities currently, but perhaps it's working with them in a fuller extent. There we go.
All right, great, thanks.
Senator Gonzalez.
Hi, over here, behind you.
Back.
Oh, just this side. Over here.
Oh,
okay.
there you are. I'm like,
Yep, sorry about
I
that.
can't see anybody's mouth.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Big room, lots of people. I totally understand. So yeah, thank you again for coming, because I haven't heard of this initiative, but that's awesome. So I was also a Cyclone Aide this past summer when we went fully online. And I'm also an MVP student. So when you talked about this, it's really interesting. I know also coming from a rural school and being a minority student, one of the biggest things that I thought about was affordability. And so I knew that going in-state was the prime factor that would keep financial options, at the most best opportunity possible. And so I would say students who participate in programs like Apex, MVP, GWC, they're usually the ones that should be marketed to for in-state, just because it is a cheaper option to go in-state, and Iowa State does an amazing job of offering scholarships to those students. And so I don't think a lot of students know that that opportunity exists, and when looking at college, people are usually daunted by the big figures and the big numbers. But when you start to add up like all the identities you hold, and maybe they're very talented in an academic sense, or maybe they have this to bring to the table, we can start to look at those costs and lower them down. As well as, are you familiar with the CAP program?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. So I know a lot of students feel special when they get that opportunity, and they know that they want to become Cyclones because, you know, they feel like they were chosen by Iowa State, you know, that they stood out. So I would recommend also following up with those students. The early outreach program, that's a fantastic program that Iowa State offers, and I don't think enough people know about it. Students in high school are able to come to Iowa State over the summer, kind of get to experience what we have to offer here, and you know, those students may grow up to want to come here in the next 3 to 4 years. So I would also follow up with those students. Another thing that we did, I came from a high school with about like 60 to 50 people in each class. And so for students who did end up going to the public universities, they would come back and talk to the younger classes. And so I think we have really niche majors that students in high school may not know exist yet. For example, ag society, anthropology. And so for high schoolers that don't know that exists, and who only hear about broad majors like business or marketing, and are afraid that, you know, that's not something that they want to go into, maybe those students who are really passionate in those majors can come back to the small rural schools and talk and know that this is an opportunity that Iowa State offers. So yeah, I thank you again for coming in, because I also work in the admissions center, and so I get calls about this all the time, about what campus looks like, what the student body looks like. So yeah,
Well,
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, well, students' voices are among the most important voices, probably the most important voices, in knowing what we can do to serve you better. So I know I'm about out of time. Other people?
Schulte?
Yeah, hi, over here. So I'm from Kansas City, where it feels like everybody's dad is an Iowa State grad because it's a huge engineering city. So I just sort of grew up at Iowa State culture, Hilton South. Like, that's just sort of something I grew up with. But I genuinely can't remember ever meeting an Iowa State alum or an Iowa State representative, which felt weird because everybody went to Iowa State, it felt like. So I think improving access there, and then I know I was just having a conversation with a prospective student 2 or 3 days ago, and he was really surprised by the early financial aid deadline of December 15th. He was like, I have no idea what I'm doing by December 15th. So I think any way that you could push that back, and then if the person looks and it's December 25th, or they get it done over Christmas break, they're going to look and they're going to see, oh, I've missed the financial aid deadline. I might not even try because I won't get the financial aid package that I'm expecting. So I think some way to push that back, even just 2 or 3 weeks, will allow for more students to submit that one app and then hopefully come. Yeah, thank you.
That's a really good point, and we've been talking about that. There are a lot of students for which that deadline doesn't work. Transfer students, sometimes yeah. So that's a very good point. Thank you.
So we'll go to Senator Samuel for the last question, and I think the other people that have placards up have already asked at least one question, and I'm sure students can reach out to you at any point. And
yes, and I have a very easy email. It's kiml@iastate.edu. Very easy, and I would love to hear more ideas from you, not only about how to get students here, but how to keep students here, retention strategies, strategies to help people feel more comfortable, to find that micro community that helps a student stay when things get tough. So please email me any ideas that you have. I would really look forward to hearing more from you.
All right, so we'll go back to Senator Samuel.
All right, one
Hi.
last question.
Yeah, so I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I had to do a lot of research for Iowa State, and I think like for out-of-state students, if you guys would possibly send out a rep during college fairs or just going to the Midwest schools to recruit out-of-state students, I think that would be great to talk about like different scholarships that you guys offer, financial aid, and just show that the students who are from out of state that Iowa State is affordable. So yeah, that's all.
Great, thank you. And the other thing, one last plug, beyond recruitment, retention, are there programs that Iowa State doesn't offer that they should offer? One of the things we've been talking about quite a bit is Iowa State's a great place to go if you want pre-med, pre-pharmacy, pre-PA, all kinds of health things. But a lot of people don't know that. They think of University of Iowa as all the pre-health. And because this is a university with a very, very strong science program, this is a really good place to get all those pre-health degrees. But we don't do such a great job of promoting that. So think about that too, new programs. All right, I've taken all my time. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Painful as that is, and keeping it safe that we can all stay on campus. So thanks, and good luck the rest of the night. Thank you for having me.
So now move on to open forum. Open forum is a period for discussion about issues relevant to students. If you have an issue for open forum, please approach the lectern. Seeing none, we will move on to adopting the agenda. Are there any amendments to tonight's agenda? Speaker Ludwig.
Yeah, I move to table indefinitely 2020-2-0051 SE.
Second.
There's been a motion to table indefinitely. Do you mean postpone table indefinitely? There's been a motion to postpone indefinitely, and there's been a second. 2020-2-051 SE. Is there any objection? Okay, then seeing none, the bill has been postponed. So we will now, are there any further amendments to the agenda? Senator Stenzel, is your placard up? All right. There's been a motion to approve tonight's agenda. There's been a second. Is there any objection? And seeing no objection, the agenda has been approved. On to the minutes from last week. Are there any amendments to the minutes from last week? There's been a motion for approval and a second. Is there any objection? And seeing none, the minutes have been approved as well. We will now move on to committee reports with Speaker Ludwig with rules.
Right, so a couple things going on in rules. We saw a bylaw bill this last week to change the PNC deadline. We sent that favorably. Election reform stuff's getting wrapped up. I think we're going to hopefully have a bill in committee this week to look at one last time, and then it should be up for first read next week. There was a veto of the 008Y, so we're gonna, while I'm looking to get some ex officio seats for the president and vice president on that rules committee, we'll look at some of the recommendations that they had and stitch it up. Other than that, that's it for me.
Are there any questions for Speaker Ludwig for Rules Committee? And seeing none, we will go to Finance with Finance Director Class.
Yeah, I'm not going to stand this week. Sorry. We have one bill up tonight that's funding asset organizations for FY20. This is just to close out FY20. It is coming from special projects. However, it's money that was already allocated to them last year. There was some accounting errors, so it did get brought back during audits, but it was money that was allocated for them for FY20, but it is in special projects now because the money that's in asset now is for FY21. If you have questions during the bill, please ask. Treasurer really was not able to make it, so I am going to be the person for it, but that's because it's accounting errors and it's more like we're funding stuff. It's a little bit confusing. So if you have questions, please ask. And then for new business, we have the Ethos debt contract amendment, which is just extending it by a semester because they are currently not a functioning club this semester. They're taking a semester off because of some leadership issues and membership issues with COVID. So they are taking a semester off, so we'll be extending that contract with them. Any questions during all of that, please ask. My email is available. I send you emails all the time asking for questions. I have not gotten any yet. We're spending students' money, so please read the bills beforehand. If you have questions, I'm available. My phone number is on there. You can text me, call me, probably any weekday besides Friday, and I'll most likely answer. I'm attached to my phone. It's a problem. But beyond that, please ask questions, and that should be it. Thanks.
All right, then seeing no placards, we will now move on to PR, and that is with President Fritz.
Yeah, so the update from them this week is that they are working on finding a professor to reach out to faculty and staff about student government, just so there's more awareness in that arena. They're working also on the Green Dot social media campaign. It's Green Dot Month, and so they'll be doing some promotional things for that. Ellie and Anna met with Reg Stewart, Diana Sloan, the Director of Health and Wellness and Diversity and Inclusion Director, on the survey regarding COVID-19 and marginalized groups. They're doing After Dark this weekend, the trivia section, so if anyone wants to go to that, they'll be doing that. And the first week of tabling happened this week, and more people need to sign up, so check out the email that Ellie sent out, and if you're free at those times, sign up to do a tabling spot.
All right, then seeing no requests for the floor, move to Diversity and Inclusion Committee with Director Perk.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came to the student government retreat on Sunday and heard mine and Senator Simano's presentation. We really appreciate the discussion that came out of that, and that was good. So we are finishing up getting the campus climate survey information organized and probably going to be able to start planning those diversity roundtables very soon. And we're also securing the date of October 20th with the Director of Student Services, Clark, for our campus accessibility review, which will include mapping out those gender-neutral restrooms on campus so that we can move forward with FP&M in the availability of menstrual hygiene products in those locations. And we're also reaching out to FP&M of the Department of Residence, the MU, and Rec Services, because those are separate entities, so that we can discuss that topic with them as well.
Then seeing no placards, we'll go to SI Committee with Senator Hovey.
Hi, hello, okay, yeah, hi everyone. So a few of us took part in the first year connection forum yesterday, and were able to give some first year students some great advice on how to be successful in their time here at ISU. I had a phone call with Catherine Brown of Facilities Planning and Management regarding expanding outdoor seating. And because of the concerns of cost, timing, and space, we decided that we would instead work together to make a map or a graphic of some sort of all of the indoor study spaces that are on campus. And some new things we want to work on are expanding the limits on student counseling services sessions, implementing a pass or no pass option for this semester, and expanding hand sanitizer stations on campus.
Okay, are there any questions? Then seeing none, we'll go to civic engagement. Oh, Vice Speaker Gonzalez.
Yeah, could you tell us how many, I'm just curious, how many students took advantage of the first year forum?
Yeah, so we had about 45 students sign up, but I think only 7 or 8 actually did attend the Zoom call. So instead of going into breakout rooms like we originally planned, first year students were just able to ask questions to everyone that was there, and everyone kind of gave their input on their questions.
Well, I'm glad those 7 students had a lot of help. Thank you.
Senator Pfeiffer.
Can you elaborate on the pass no pass, no pass option you were talking about just a little bit?
Yeah, so Senator Hayes here is leading that project, so I'm gonna let him kind of answer your question.
Yeah, so the general idea is that basically, with a lot of the external circumstances surrounding students this semester, I find it unfair that their GPAs are being affected by those circumstances, even though they aren't academically related. And so I've reached out to Toya Younger, as well as the Office of Regents, or is that what it is? Oh, the Office of the Registrar, so we could deal with figuring out a way for us to possibly, my goal is to see like an application process. So this wouldn't be for all students necessarily, just because of it's different than the spring, where things were sort of forced upon students. But this year, I'm hoping that students who have probable cause to believe that their academics are taking a hit because of things outside of the coursework that they're doing, they will be able to receive some of the same benefits which they received in the spring to change their classes to pass, no pass, as well as I'm also hoping to make it designated on their transcript that they were approved, and that is why certain courses were able to be changed to pass, no pass, even though they were part of like the required major coursework.
Awesome, thank you. I yield.
Any further questions? And Senator Hovey, I can't see you because the placard's right in the way, so if you need to put your placard up, just put it off to the side or something and I'll try and see it. All right. If there are no further questions, we'll go to comments from the executive branch with President Fritz.
Hello,
Oh,
everyone.
no, wait.
Happy Wednesday.
Morgan, I'm sorry. Civic Engagement Committee with Senator Samuel.
You're good. Yeah, not too much to report. We're still working on our initiatives. We set the date for our discussion forum, which will be on the 8th from 7 to 8, and the mass email will go out on the 5th. We're working on mass mailers for off-campus students, and then an informational Canvas module was released, and teachers are downloading it. It just has resources and a video from the basketball team because they released a voting video. And I was at the Iowa Campus Voter Summit this past Friday, and I talked to a lot of Iowa schools, and we talked about different resources, so I'll be in touch with them as well. I yield.
Any questions for Civic Engagement Committee? And seeing none, now we have comments from the executive branch.
Hello, happy Wednesday again. So this week, Vice President Schrader, Director of Affordability Campbell, and I had a meeting with the Office of Financial Aid with Director Roberta Johnson and Associate Director Chad Olson regarding the Income Share Pilot Program. So we were able to get some feedback from them initially, and we will be meeting again in a few weeks to go over more feedback after they have met with their various stakeholders. We also had a meeting with Pete England from the Department of Residence, just talking about future programming for incoming Residence Hall students. We also had the student government retreat, so thank you to everyone that was able to attend. Thank you to Speaker Ludwig for planning a great event, and for Director of Diversity and Inclusion Perk, Senator Simano, Finance Director Class, and Vice Speaker Gonzalez for all of your very informative presentations. I also did veto 2020-2-07Y and 08. And my reasoning for each of those was attached in an email. Let me know if you have any questions on either of those. I was able to speak with President Winterstein's leadership class this week. So I was able to, kind of share a bit about what student government does and how we serve students. So that was a really fun event. And I also had a meeting with the Principals of Renaming Committee this week where we continued to discuss the policies that will guide renaming. Does anyone have any questions for me? Great, thank you. Oh, Mason? Senator Zastro.
Senator Zastro.
Are there any meeting minutes from the renaming committee meetings?
There are not meeting minutes, no. But if you have more questions, I can give you a contact to reach out to.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any further questions? And seeing none, we'll go on to our agenda for the day. We have external matters within that, general orders, 2020-2-016F, funding asset organizations. That is with Senator Zastro for opening statement.
Yes, my opening statement is that if you have any questions about this, I know a little bit. Finance Director Klaas would know more. He's going up to the front now. I have not sent the Finance Committee amendments to the Vice Speaker. However, I will propose them. It is just changing the account from Senate discretionary to special projects.
Senator Zastro has proposed the Finance Committee amendments, which just changed the account. And since there is committee amendments, it doesn't need a second. So Senator Zastro, the floor is yours on the amendment.
Call the question.
It's been a call to question and a second. Is there any objection to voting now? Then seeing none, we'll go into a placard vote. This is called for unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the amendment by unanimous consent? Seeing none, the amendment has been approved. Senator Zastro, the floor is yours.
I will yield the rest of my time to Finance Director Klaas.
Yeah, so as I talked about earlier, this is just an accounting error. So we want to still get these clubs funded, but I can't do that myself. COA can't do that. It has to go through Senate, so that's why it's here. So yeah, if you have questions, please ask.
All right, so we will go into the regular period of debate on the bill. Senator Springer.
I just want to motion to add Senators Buma and Reinsch. Sorry.
Been a motion to add Senator Buma and Rinchi to the roll. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the senators have been added to the roll. All right. Do you yield, Senator Springer? All right. It's been a call to question on the bill and a second. Is there any objection to voting now on the bill? Then seeing none, Senator Zastro with your closing statement.
No statement.
Senator Zastro declines, and we will now move on to a roll call vote on the bill. Please say yes, no, abstain, or move me down. Adegarla. Edvate. Buma. Brown. Emery. Fahim. Grant. Green. Goff. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Hayes. Hovey. Hurley. Kloptowskis. Ludwig.
Yes.
Mass. Pfeiffer. Rinchi. Samano. Schulte. Simonson. Springer. Stenzel. Stevens. Samuel. Weathers. Zastro. Zavoski. Did I miss anyone? All right, then with a vote of 29 to 0, the funding request is approved. We now go into internal matters within internal matters general orders 2020-2-017Y, changing the priorities and criteria due date with Senator Zastro.
Yes. So this is a bylaw change. I would like to start my opening statement with a question to the Speaker. Speaker Ludwig, do you normally put the date of the first or the second read on the bills?
I normally put the first.
Okay.
Did I put
Could
the
it
wrong
be,
date
well,
on here?
right now it just says date.
So
would it be a friendly
neat.
to add the date?
Yes.
Cool, thank you.
All right.
So this is about the priorities and criteria due date. The bylaws currently state that it needs to be submitted to the Vice Chair of the Finance Committee by the third to final meeting of the fall semester. That has not been the case in the past. That would be impractical in most semesters. And it never actually says when the bill for PNC needs to be submitted to Senate, which I think is the intent of the bylaw. So I would like it to be changed. I yield.
All right, we are now in the general discussion period for the bill. It's been a call to question and a second. Is there any objection to voting now on the bill? All right, Senator Zastro with the closing statement.
No statement.
And declines again. So we will go into a roll call vote again. Yes, no, abstain, or move me down. Adegarla. Edvate. Buma. Brown, Emery, Fahim, Grant, Green, Goff, Gonzalez, Hanyang, Hayes, Hovey, Hurley, Kloptowskis, Ludwig,
Yes.
Mass, Pfeiffer, Rinchie, Simano, Schulte, Simonson, Springer, Stenzel, Stevens, Samuel, Weathers, Zastro, Zavoski. Did I miss anybody? All right, then again with a 29 to 0 vote, this bill passes. We now move on to new business within new business 2020-2-018F, Ethos Debt Contract Amendment, again with Senator Zastro.
Ask some questions to me if you would like, and I will forward them to Finance Director Klaus.
Are there any questions of intent for the author of the bill, Zastro? And seeing none, we'll see it next week. We'll go into closing announcements. If you have a closing announcement, put your placard up. All right, Advait.
Right. I just wanted to reflect what I said at the retreat on Sunday in one of the breakout sessions. If you weren't there, essentially, a lot of the legislation we have is up for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks even. So please, please, please do read through the legislation. And if you see anything that you think is important, anything that stands out to you, anything you might have issues with, please reach out to the author of said legislation. Because one of the things that I think is one of our failings in student government is how slowly we function, and it might be prudent to reach out to the people that are writing bills and suggest the changes. Maybe they might be amenable to those, and then we don't have to have a really long debate on the floor. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of bills coming through in the coming weeks too. So read through the packets and yeah, just bring up concerns. That's all I have.
Okay, then I don't see anybody else, so I will go. Yesterday I participated in a forum with about 20 other schools about kind of voting and youth engagement. That was moderated by CalPen and Freeform. So that recording should be available soon. I think it went better than I thought it would go. So I think it was a good conversation, and then we'll try and post that so people can take a look. There should be a recording available soon. So that's really exciting. And I'll add on to what Senator Advait said. If you're writing a bill, go out and ask people for their opinions too. Sometimes it can be hard and intimidating for people to come to you if you're writing a bill. Maybe you're the expert on it, and somebody may not feel totally comfortable. So go seek out feedback and go try and build a consensus for your bills so you're better informed when you're in the writing process too. I think it's part of the same two sides of the same coin. So with that, I will go to Vice Speaker Gonzalez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to those who came to our retreat. Speaker Ludwig did a great job of, making that accessible for all of us. New month starting tomorrow, so exciting. Make sure that you're having those meetings again with your mentees. If you don't know who it is, if you don't have one, which you all should have one now, just let me know. Just reach out. September was kind of our trial month. I know a lot of people had some really successful meetings, which I'm really happy to hear about. So just keep having those. The requirement is 2 a month, with each mentee. And hopefully by the end of this semester, but also session, you will all have gained something and produced something to present to the Senate or be part of student government. So I'm really excited to see those results. And yeah, keep tabling, because that is really exciting, and it's really important for us to make the university aware of student government's presence. So that's all from me. Have a happy rest of your week.
Speaker Ludwig.
Awesome. So just a couple quick notes. First, thanks to everyone who was able to make it out to the retreat, and thank you to everyone who presented at the retreat. I think we had some really good conversations, some good presentations. I thought it was a good time. I recorded most of the retreat, so if you weren't there, you should be getting an email with me from me sometime later this week. I just have to download the file and send it out. So I'll send it to the people that I know weren't there so that you can go through and watch like the Finance 101 session or some of the other ones and just get a feel for whatever you might have missed. And then other than that, on the MIS, please enter your whichever committee you're on into the MIS so that I know. I'm going to start enforcing the committee requirement at the beginning of next week. If I don't see that you have a committee on there, I'm going to presume that you haven't joined one yet. You're required to be on one committee. I know we've talked about this a number of times so far this semester, so if you're not on one, I'm going to reach out to you and bug you about it. I don't want to have to give nonfeasances, so just hop on there, takes a quick second, edit your line, and let me know. That's all I've got, so go Cyclones. Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn in a second. Any objection? Then seeing none, adjourned.